Good evening and welcome. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Hello, I'm Andy Hodges. This week alone, we have witnessed new party launches. Aspiring candidates jostle for space as they race to make a nomination court date deadline for the harmonized elections to be held in Zimbabwe on the 23rd of August 2023. Manifestos and policies of candidates are important as they outline exactly what they intend to do if they are elected into power. In 2018, 23 aspirants stood as candidates for Zimbabwe's presidency. Today, here on The Chase, 4 of the aspiring Zimbabwe leaders converge under one roof on what is our continuing election series here on ZTN Prime. Our topic, up close with Zimbabwe presidential hopefuls. Join me and my guests tonight live on The Chase. Welcome back to The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. This is ZTN Prime broadcasting to you from our studios in Harare, Zimbabwe. To discuss up close with Zimbabwe's presidential hopefuls, I'm joined by Morgan Komichi, United MDCT Interim President, Garikai Muza, United People's Nation President, Lloyd Damba, MDCT President, Douglas Monzora spokesperson. Now, we had invited Lloyd. He did say he was going to be here. Unfortunately, as you can see, he is not yet here. We hope he will come. And finally, Henry Mutasa, Kambizi Party President. Gentlemen, welcome to The Chase.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Now, to my guests, I will allow you possibly to interject, but please note that here at ZTN Prime, our values are dignity, dialogue, and debate. Let me emphasize to all of my guests that, as agreed with you all prior to the program, you will have 1 minute to answer each question posed to you and will be cut off should you go over this time limit. Now, to our viewers watching ZTN Prime, we would like to hear from you. So please let us know your comments or thoughts via our social media platforms, Facebook page, Zim Papers TV Network, and of course our Twitter handle at ZTN Prime. Your voice is important to us. Of course, all views expressed on The Chase are those of our guests and not those of Zim Papers 1980 Limited or indeed ZTN Prime. All right, I'm going to ask you each the first question, and I'll start with you, Morgan. I want to be blunt with all of you. It's a few months before the elections, and most of you only launched presidential bids after election date proclamation. So where were you all along? Why did it take you so long to announce your candidacy? Morgan?
This is not something that one person decides. At what particular time would you want to do something in life? God decides. Many people have asked me that question. Why have you taken so long to come up? God decided the time, and I will follow suit. I know it's the Lord who has given us this time. I do believe that between today and 21 June, it's enough time to get what is required for people to be in the election. I'm already a brand. No one in Zimbabwe doesn't know Morgan Komichi. Everyone in Zimbabwe knows MDC, so there's nothing really to worry about. Definitely, the 6 days are enough to launch, to campaign, the 2 months to come, up to the 23rd of August, it's enough time for us to win election.
Garikai?
Yes, thank you so much. As Morgan said, that God's time is the right time. It's the perfect time. The situation in our nation, we need a miracle. A miracle, it doesn't determine with the time, the period, because when God is changing things, he does on his own way. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So as we are here today, as for UPN, we are here because of God. Because God is the one who understands the situation. He's the one with the solutions for our nation. Sometimes we might think that we can solve these solutions on our own, yet we can go for years and years and years and years. But this year, 2023, there is a miracle that is going to happen. And God doesn't compete with anybody.
Henry?
Yeah, I'm actually relaunching because I relaunched my 2023 presidential bid in December 2019. So this is just a relaunching, you know, because we are much closer now to the election date.
Okay. All right. Now, you will notice we do have an empty space here. We did invite Douglas Monzora's spokesperson, Lloyd Damba, and he did say he was coming. Unfortunately, he hasn't yet appeared here on The Chase. However, we hope he will come. But please, I emphasize that he was invited to speak and come and express his president's views. That's Douglas Monzora's views right here on The Chase. Again, I'd like to ask you all, and Henry, I will start with you. I'd like you to express in a few sentences what exactly are your main ticket items or your main manifesto items. Why do you believe that Zimbabwean voters should elect you?
Yeah, I will mabasa noda wanu washande mabasa yanaona kuwanda kana neta mtungamiro wa nyika masalaries yanokwira ma $600 minimum salary and my GMB inaona kubadara warimi in US inaona kubadara ipapo paona endesa zvinhu zvavo chibage chavo kana chichichi and migwagwa ya kumamisha yese inaona kugradwa kamwe pa 3 months and mabiriji ya kumusha inaona kugadziriswa yaite zvakanaka and then nyaya kuzimba munhu wese akasvika makore 27 anafana kuwa na imba yake ina title deed. Munhu wese akasvika makore 30 anafana kuwa na prazi rake rino title deed, prazi ra 30 hectares. Ano prazi rinofura 30 hectares atimpi title deed, nampa title deed pa prazi ra 30 hectares chete.
Thank you. I have to jump in there. 1 minute is up. Gary Kai, your main ticket items or your main items in your manifesto?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. As UPN, we are here for this time because of the situation that have been put our family, our brothers and sisters in a corner whereby anyone is not managing the life that we're supposed to live in this nation. So at this point of time, this is the time that we have to be united. As UPN, we put people first. People, they are the ones who have the solutions. You can promise people, but people, they've got ideas. So no one hears the ideas of people. No one hears the ideas of the youth. The youth, they are well educated and they are energetic, but no one can hear them. So as UPN, we need to go inside to people and work together with people. Those are the solutions, because this is Zimbabwe. Everyone is inside Zimbabwe. So,
unfortunately, you have, as I said, 1 minute. Thank you for that. Morgan?
I have a dream that I've identified a problem of African economies, including Zimbabwe. When we went for the Liberation War, we were fighting to change a system of governance that was being used by the colonialists. Unfortunately, when we took over power in Africa as the whole, we forgot to change the systems that were used by the colonial masters to oppress us. The systems that were used by the colonial masters to oppress us catered for the minority of the population by then, who were whites. In Zimbabwe, 200,000 whites were being catered by the system that was used, designed by Ian Douglas and his guys. Africans leaders forgot to change that. The system was exclusive of the black people. So the problem why Africa or Zimbabwe is in poverty, because we are using a wrong governing system. So my agenda that I'm going to be selling the people is to introduce a governance system that's going to be inclusive of the black people, a governance system that's going to be modern, a governance system that would accommodate all blacks. At the moment, we are not having, we are failing because we are using wrong.
I have to jump in there again. As I said, 1 minute to each of you, and I will be fair for that the whole program. Again, I'm going to ask you each, and I'll start with you, Gary Kai, on this question. Listen to my question, please. Would you agree or not with the assertion that is raised by most political analysts that you could be or are, all of you, fly-by-night politicians? And if you believe that you are serious contenders for Zimbabwe's highest office, which of course is the President of the Republic, can you tell the nation exactly how many supporters you actually have? Gary Kai?
As UPN, we've been on ground since last year, but quite before we even launch our party. We have been meeting people, and we are not overnight flies. We have been asking people their needs, and as for a fact, we all know what we need in this nation. We all know what exactly we have to do. But the thing, what we have to do is to unite it, and then we tackle this challenge we are facing. So we are not here because we are here to push time, or we are here to do this, but we are here for a change.
What about supporters?
We have supporters.
Do you have the numbers?
We have got supporters everywhere, because I've been in every province. I've been in every province, and we have our structures. They are
Okay. Morgan, you heard the question, fly-by-night politicians, analysts call that, and the numbers of supporters.
Rogers, no. MDC is got a history of winning elections in Zimbabwe. MDC in 2008 provided the whole prime minister of the country, provided the whole speaker of parliament, and had all mayors in urban centers. MDC has got history of victory. So the supporters are there in all parts of Zimbabwe. The only downfall that we had was simply because we had placed a wrong leader to lead our movement. Now that we have replaced the wrong leader and placed the right leader to lead MDC, MDC is going to surprise people these coming elections. We have won elections before, so we're going to win elections again this time coming around.
Now, as I said, you did notice there is a free space here on our podium that was reserved for Lloyd Damba, MDCT President Monzora's spokesperson. He was invited, he confirmed he was coming, and unfortunately could not make it. Or in fact, well, he hasn't actually come. I don't know why, but we'll still find out. I hope he does come in the end. Henry, you heard the question. Fly-by-night politician only coming at election time. And also, of course, the supporters you have and the numbers, if you could share that.
Yeah. Ndakatanga politics pandakakurira kuTanzania. Babangu angari muZimbabwe nakishanda kuTanzania na office ya President Nyerere. So ndakatanga politics ngari na makore 4. Takatanga kuunzwa kuTanzania tiunganize mari ya kubasira ya kutenga chikafu cha kuwapa wanu wa Zanla na Zipra na ANC ya South Africa na PAC ya South Africa na MPLA ya Angola na Frelimo ya Mozambique. So ndakatanga politics ni mbiki makore 4. And then ndaka join MDC 6 weeks after Payakatanga, November 1999 ndaka join MDC. Awasati waisa Congress. So ndiri founding member of MDC. But andina kuchaga chigaro chiwombe because ndiri new one Zimbabwe ngani chifa ku Tanzania. But baba wangu ndiwa mundu mkumusha kwangu ndi ku Zimbabwe. Panyaya ya number of supporters are about 4 million people.
4 million.
Because Ndakasanisa Radio, Zimbabwe, and National FM.
Unfortunately, I have to jump in there. Okay. Right, my next question. Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziyambi, said in a video recently that a president should have deep pockets. And this appears to be in sync with the nomination fee. As you know, it's for president, it's $20,000 United States dollars. Morgan, I'll start with you. Do you agree with Honorable Minister Ziyambi's comment or not?
I strongly disagree with that comment. I think Mr. Ziyambi represented an undemocratic system, a system that must not be tolerated in Africa in democratic state. In as far as representing people, you don't need to have money. You don't have to have a lot of money to be a president because you are not going to develop the country from your pocket. You don't need to have a lot of money to be an MP because your role of MP is oversight, lawmaking, and representation. You don't need money for that. Developmental activities are done by the cabinet. So the minister should then be given the money by the treasury to do developmental activities in the raw areas. So a councillor, member of parliament, PR, whatever, they must not be punished for desiring to represent the people. The people of Zimbabwe must give them the opportunity to choose their own people. And it's not, a popular person is not necessarily the richest person in a community.
Henry?
Yeah. Maria nomination yato wanda yakanyanya. Muzimbabwe wana mabasa and bumbiro la tembo notaura munu wese ana chikonzero cha kukwiza kana kuita president kana MP kana kansura. So nyaya kuisa mari inafunga isi right. Inodzinga wamwe.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to follow up that question. I'll start with you, Gary Kai. The issue, of course, Gary Kai, you have to answer the question, do you not? Apologies.
Okay, life is very spiritual. Sometimes we think we can resolve all these things on our own. We are living God because this fight, we have to win it in the realm of the spirit. Without winning it in the realm of the spirit, we will be loitering around. We will be fighting every year.
So you believe that deep pockets being rich is not
I don't believe in that because this is not fair.
Let me follow up then with you, and I'll ask you again the same question. Do you believe the nomination fee is one too high? If you do believe that, how do you think you'll be able to effect a successful, effective presidential campaign in all 10 provinces, including holding political rallies, the marshals, the poll observers in over 3,000 polling stations, just for example?
Okay, either they will finalize with that 20,000. We are not going to big stride. We are going forward. We will do our best to make sure that we are in in this 2020.
So you have the money to be able to mount an effective campaign across all 10 provinces?
If they stick to that money, that amount, we are going to work hard to get the money.
Morgan?
We would work hard to get the money because we need to fight. What it only shows is that our country is non-democratic. The country does not respect its own people. The country does not respect its own constitution. Because this is actually one or the other, the form of rigging of elections. When you introduce such kind of huge fees, you are indirectly saying, do not participate. Because the government, the ZANU-PF party, has got a lot of resources. It will be able to finance all its candidates very easily. And individuals and many parties which are not financed by the Political Finance Act cannot be able to raise that money. So that's undemocratic. We've been fighting for democratic space in this country for a long time. And it looks like we're not gaining. It looks like we're actually losing the space every time. This is an example of a situation in which the government is so brave enough to avoid or to fear elections. So to fear certain candidates, they should have reduced these fees to $1,000 for the president. $50 for other members of parliament, not these figures that were here.
Thank you, Morgan. I have to jump in there. Henry, you heard
Yeah.
the question?
Yeah. 20,000 yakawanda pa president. Anyway, pana munhu ari ready kubhadhara. But wanafana kuidzikisa because wakawanda wanaona kutaza kuibhadhara hiyo. And it's not good. Panyaya campaigning ndakumbira maZimbabweans mtume $1 each. Pa namba yangu 0778248217 tibatsirane pa budget ya campaign kufamba ma province yese 10.
Henry, I'll ask you the next question. This is just specifically for you. In the last election, US dollars 1,000 was still a mammoth task for you to raise. And in a recent interview, you said you're relying on citizens to help raise the 20,000 United States dollars. On what basis do you expect citizens to give you their hard-earned money for your fees? And do you think you will get it right this time around?
Yeah. Kana maZimbabweans watoiona manifesto yangu, kana waona ndino muono wakanaka, ndino manifesto yakanaka, wanogona kuunganiza mari. Aidiyo mari yakawanda. Kana munhu mumwe akaunganiza $1 chete, 4 million Zimbabweans. Kana waunganiza $1 chete, munhu 1, zinoita 4 million. Inokwana zese.
Okay. Morgan, let me come to you. This is specifically a question for you again. You've announced yourself as the interim president of the MDCT. Somewhere I read it says United MDCT. So, of course, the first question is united from what? And is this a signal that this is yet another split in the MDC?
It's not a split. If you look at my interview, my press conference, I introduced the three iconic leaders, Morgan Tsvangirai, Gibson Sibanda, and Isaac Matongo, who represented the original MDC. So but with time, a lot of MDC's factions went away, and they have various parties. So I've now interjected and said we need to unite all those small MDCs back to its original state, which was Morgan Tsvangirai, Mr. Sibanda, and Mr. Isaac. So that will become one unit again. So MDC is equal to United MDCs. So we're still one component and one organization. So we have gone to the ethos, to the original founding values of our struggle. What was MDC known for? When Tsvangirai was alive, what was MDC doing in Zimbabwe? This is what we are reintroducing, real opposition politics. A formidable front that will represent the ordinary person.
So, just to follow up for you, then I'll come to Henry and Garikai. How is it possible for you to have taken Douglas Monzoa out of the MDCT leadership role as president?
It's very easy. I am like a pilot. So I'm a trained pilot who is a passenger on that particular very day. And I've known that the pilot on the steering wheel has been struck by the stroke. He's handicapped. He cannot drive the plane anymore. I cannot just sit down. I will jump in and remove the sick pilot and take over the pilotship to save the people in the plane and to save the plane itself. So that's what I've done. I've jumped onto the seat to save MDC as well as save the Zimbabweans.
And that is not a split.
It's not a split.
Garikai, commentators in every election always scrutinize the playing field. And my question to you is, do you believe that the playing field is equal for all parties such as yours, particularly referring to the presidential election?
No, it's not equal, sir. I don't believe on that. Actually, what I'll say on that one, like, as UPN, we are just coming, and we are growing. As we are growing, we need to grow with people, because what we are fighting with is the other oppositions. They use their resources. They take advantage of their resources, but we are not taking advantage of our resources, but we are taking advantage of our people and our land and the resources that we have. So we are here so that we can have help to each and everybody. We have to be united at United People's Nation and say, let's go this way. And we have to do the right thing at this time of time.
Henry, level playing field or not, your view?
It's not level at all. We haven't seen the voters' roll up to now, and I would expect the voters' roll to be out like even a year before, so that we can scrutinize it and then they keep improving on it. We haven't seen it. When we are seeing it's going to be too late. I tried to apply for rallies since March last year. I was confused. Nobody gave me the permission. They kept saying, "Go this office, go that office." So it's not level at all.
Now, you will notice, as I said, that one of the podiums is empty. That was reserved for Lloyd Damba, MDCT President Douglas Mwanzora's spokesperson. He did confirm he was coming, but did not actually pitch up. It's time for us to take a breather. Our discussion up close with Zimbabwe presidential hopefuls. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Now then, as we're talking, in fact, I'm going to continue going because, in fact, this is great for time because I'd like to give my guests more time for questions. Let's start with you, Morgan. Henry. Henry, commentators say that one of the reasons why you're standing as a presidential candidate is that you're gunning for Pollard benefits after the election. And this may be the only reason that you've thrown your hat into the ring, so to speak. Your comments specifically on that issue.
All right, I started campaigning for president against President Mugabe in September 2017. So there was no Pollard by then. So that is...
Okay. Yeah. So it's a non-issue.
Non-issue.
Morgan?
The Pollard is an effort that was put forward by President Mnangagwa for achieving what is calling political dialogue. I really don't mind much about that, but I would like to improve on that. I believe in three core values of human existence for us as a country to make sure that we build our institutions along those three core values. I believe in unity, national unity for all Zimbabweans, and I believe in national peace for all Zimbabweans, and I believe on shared vision as Zimbabweans. I do believe these three core values, if they're going to be adopted by the government of Zimbabwe, whoever wins is going to resolve our economic crisis in Zimbabwe, is going to involve to resolve our political crisis in Zimbabwe. Because a nation that is united under peace and got a shared vision, definitely the output of that kind of an approach is economic development. So really, I would welcome anyone who's got an idea to unite us. So I don't really mind where it comes from.
Thank you. Gary Kai, similar question to you. Throw your hat in the ring because of Pollard benefits. Your comment?
If I tell you, I've never been a politician in my entire life, but because of I serve God. When you serve God, He will give you the direction. So for me to stand here, I'm not after any material things. I'm not after Pollard. I don't even understand about the Pollard thing, but I'm here for the mission of God to accomplish it for His people. These people, they need a man who knows God, who fears God, a transparent, integrity, obedience. That's what we need. We need a true leadership that is not after all these things. Because if you have patience enough, God will give you, God will reward you. But people, because of fear, they rush to make some decisions, which they end up being in trouble. So as I'm standing here, I don't know much about Pollard, and I'm not after Pollard.
Morgan, you said actually just now that you want to go back to basics. You mentioned the three founding fathers, of course, Morgan Tsvangirai being one of them. the question I suppose I put to you is, what do you believe is wrong with the current Douglas Monzora-led MDCT?
It has moved away from the core values of our struggle. The objectives that were set by the past president, Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, are no longer being followed. Remember, for 18 years, Morgan Tsvangirai being the president of the party, he was never referred to as a ZANU-PF light by the Zimbabweans. His man was voted by more than 70% of the Zimbabweans in some time, 2008 elections. But today, the MDC, the same MDC which was so strong, is now rejected by the masses. It is now hated by everybody. Its leader is actually the most hated politician in Zimbabwe, according to Afrobarometer. That is dangerous. And we cannot just sit down and wait for us. So we want to revamp our movement, restore the dignity of our movement, make sure that we bring back the opposition mantra. We want to bring back an opposition that's going to hold the government accountable.
Thank you. Henry, I'll come to you. The electorate vote for someone that does something tangible or convinces them that their policies will improve their lives and futures, of course. As an aspiring presidential candidate, have you hit the ground running? And more importantly, what actually have you done?
Yeah, since 2005, I've been advising the politicians across the board on where the country should go. And then from 2009 to 2013, I volunteered to work with COPAC. We wrote the new constitution, and I did that for free. 4 years working for free. So I think that's good. The constitution is very good. Only that there's amendment number 1 and 2, which are not very good. We have to reverse those ones, which were done by President Mnangagwa.
Garakai, what have you done? Have you hit the ground running? And what, as I said, actually have you done? You have to convince the electorate about your policies, about voting for you. And of course, voters like to see something tangible.
Yeah, like I said, I've been in provinces since last year, and we were doing our structures and influencing the youth. Especially, I'm working with the youth. So we have done a lot. We are teaching our people as we are peace. Runyarar Ukutula. We are preaching the gospel of peace in Runyarar Ukutula. So people, they are happy about this peace, because people, they need peace. People, they don't need violence. People, you know what, there are some area we must understand. We might cry for the other changes, but we must change our spiritual life so that we can have a peace life without robbering, without, all those kind of activities, wicked thing that is happening in the country. We are here for peace, but in every province I've been there, and we have people who are running there.
Morgan, some would say that for the past couple of months, years, basically it's been infighting at MDCT. So let me ask you the same question. Have you hit the ground running, and tangible things that you've done that can convince the electorate to vote for you?
This is the time to call for unity. And that is that would be my function. From now, even until after elections, I'll be calling for unity, peace, and shared vision. I would want to hold all leaders in Zimbabwe to appreciate that as long as you continue fighting for power and neglecting the general livelihoods of the people of Zimbabwe, you'll be harming them. For the last 3 years right now, the general public are at the receiving end. The general public are the ones that are suffering right now with the exchange rate, higher exchange rate, the cost of living. I'm calling for the unity of all political leaders, from President Mnangagwa to President Chamisa to President Komichi to President of these my counterparts that I have here, to put people first, to put Zimbabweans first, to feel sorry for the abject poverty in which the Zimbabweans are living. 49% of the Zimbabweans are living in abject poverty. We must put the economic agenda on the first list.
Morgan, I'm going to come back to you with another question. In a news publication, you prophesied doom for the opposition in the coming elections. And I'm going to quote your own words. You said, "We might actually face the worst opposition defeat. We are worse off than ever before. We can face disaster whilst people have high hopes." Why would you want to contest an election as an opposition candidate when you've already prophesied that you will lose?
I have said the 3 values that I'm going to push forward are unity among opposition political parties. The second one is to fight for peace for our country. The third one is to fight for the shared vision. I've been to Kenya, and I met with the President Raila Odinga. More than 15 opposition political parties are under one umbrella. Some are along the government party, some along opposition political party. That is the way we should go. I profess that's doom was as long as we don't unite and we work together as opposition political parties, ZANU-PF will celebrate. So I still call upon Zimbabweans, I still call upon leadership in opposition leadership to unite so that we can fight this election together as a united family. Otherwise, if we go individually, because we're failing to coordinate each other, we will be destroyed by the ruling party.
Henry, you heard the quote I gave there that Morgan Komichi said, and I repeat, we might actually face the worst opposition defeat. You've heard his views about uniting opposition under one umbrella. How would you respond to that point of view?
Yeah, voters role yacho aina kumira shakanaka. So when considers opposition ikundwe pakwikizo. Even kana wanu wavota shakanaka. Number 2, panyaya ya opposition kuungana. Ini ndakataura na wamweka. Ndakamtumira message President Chamisa May 2021. Ndakamkumbira tishande tesi but ana kuvuma. So tunudi kana wanu awadi. Ndakataura na PZ, ndakataura na mabatu yakawanda. Wabatu nyarana shao. So msiya munu aende wega.
Okay, Gary Kai, your views on the comment that Morgan made. Do you believe that it's time for the opposition to unite under one umbrella? Do you think the opposition could face the worst defeat they've ever had in history at this election on August the 23rd?
No, I just say on behalf of UPN, we know that this race has been going for a long while. So as for us, we know the truth that we need peace, as he said. We have to set aside our differences because we are not criticizing anyone. We are not blaming anyone. It's not a blaming game anymore. It's a way forward. So as UPN, we have seen that God have assigned his team to lead the nation of Zimbabwe, his own team, right? Because when God chooses his own team, he has got the structure, his own structure. So as UPN, we have got our own structure. So we are uniting with everybody, but in a spiritual way.
All right, my next question, I'm going to actually increase the time to 2 minutes because I believe it is quite a critical question for all of you to answer. So please, I will start with you, Morgan. I want to now turn to what I call bread and butter issues. We have what economists, analysts would call a currency or exchange rate crisis. Basic goods and services are out of the reach of most citizens, and not forgetting, of course, high inflation and the high interest rates, which are, some say, the highest in the world. This is what economic analysts and economists say. So, 2 minutes. What are your economic plans? How would you address the economy if you were in power?
One day I met a government leader, and I told him that go and hire the best economists in the world and go and get the best governor in the world. You will not improve the Zimbabwean economy. Well before, 6 months or so before this crisis that we are today. And it's true. Why? It is because we are using the wrong governance system. The governance system that was designed by the colonialists to oppress the blacks. So it will never cater for the majority. We have to introduce new systems of governance that caters for the black majority. The new system of governance, which has got the basics, the basis of an African person. The entire Africa today, if you look at it, there's no one country that you can point that is developing economically, proportional to its natural resources. The question is it that blacks were dudes? Blacks cannot think that the problem, the solution, the true answer is that we are intelligent enough, but we are using the wrong governance structure and the governance system. So I'm going to introduce an Afrocentric governance system that's got the roots of our culture, identity, and originality, which is going to be inclusive of the black majority. The governance system that I'm talking about, which I'm saying, which is Afrocentric, is basically inclusive government. That is why you see the entire world right now is going inclusive. Go to Europe, Germany, Italy, France, Israel. They've all gone inclusive because they know that the problem that is killing Africa today is fighting against the Newton's law of motion. which says when two equal forces of the same magnitude interact in opposite direction, there is no motion. What comes naturally is the heat, friction, and disorder. Similarly, in a country as well, where the opposition party and the ruling party are of the same equal magnitude and they interact in the opposite direction, there will be no economic motion. What comes out there is the friction, factionalism, conflict, and wars. So unity becomes the answer to that.
I have to jump in there. Your 2 minutes is up. Gary Kai, I will repeat the question if you don't mind. Economic analysts say we have a currency or exchange rate crisis, basic goods and services out of the reach of most citizens, high inflation, high interest rates. What are your economic plans if you become president? What would you do to address Zimbabwe's economy according to analysts?
Okay, first, I'll take advantage of our resources because at the moment we are not manufacturing anything in Zimbabwe. We are importing and no money is coming in this nation. But we have, what are we doing with our gold? What are we doing with our diamonds? We have to take advantage of that diamond. We have to manufacture. We have to take use of that gold from here. Then we send products outside the country. That's when we get money from outside. But if we are buying from outside and we are not doing anything in our nation, no manufacturing, there's nothing that we can do. So as us, we are going to take use of the resources that we have to manufacture them here. They go, if they are going to China, they go to China as rings, as whatever, because we must have those machinery in our nations. And then we employ our people. We have people who are well skilled in Zimbabwe, that we can do a lot through our minerals, our agriculture. We have advantage of everything in Zimbabwe, and we are the most successful nation in Zimbabwe if we can lead our nation accordingly.
Henry, same question. Of course, currency crisis, goods and services out of reach of most citizens, high inflation, high interest rates. What would be your economic policies to deal with this perceived issue in the Zimbabwean economy?
Yeah, panyaya kudona kwa mari yedu, chinodiwa panapa, tunafana kutengeza kunze kwa nyika, zvinhu zvakawanda. Kana kugadzirisa embe, kana kugadzirisa mamashini, kana kugadzirisa mamota, kugadzirisa ndege, kana tatengesa zvinhu zvakawanda kukunda zvinhu zvatinotenga, mari yedu inosimba.
Thank you. Now, you will notice, as I've said throughout the entire show of The Chase this evening, that there is an empty podium that belonged to Lloyd Damba. He is a spokesperson of Mr. Douglas Munzo, MDCT president. He was invited to appear on The Chase, and unfortunately, as you can see, he was a no-show. Let me start with you, Henry. To be an effective president, you're back to 1 minute, gentlemen. I will tell you when the next question is 2 minutes. 1 minute. To be an effective president in Zimbabwe, you require at least a majority in parliament. Otherwise, if you win, you could be labeled a lame duck president. So the question is, do you have structures that enable you to field candidates in all constituencies for either members of parliament or even local government authorities, local authorities?
Nakumbira vanhu wa Zimbabwe izveze mnitumire WhatsApp pa 0776641610 mukukwize kuita ma MP, ma councillor, ma provincial councillors, mabato raKambizi party. Inobatsira kuti kana ita mtungamiriri wa nyika tinoshanda na parliament yakazara vanhu.
Thank you. Morgan, same question, of course. 210 constituencies, members of parliament, thousands of local authorities. Do you have candidates? Do you have the structures to be able to fill it? Otherwise, of course, being president, you may be not a very short-lived president.
I already alluded that MDC once had a prime minister out of structures. He had the speaker out of structures. Ran all urban council mayors because of the structures. The structures are still there. The structures are there. What I did yesterday to take the control of the plane was going to regurgitate those structures back. So definitely everyone in Zimbabwe is there to support MDC. MDC is a household name. Every family in Zimbabwe knows what MDC is all about.
Gary Kai.
Yeah, we are going to field, but we might not going to make it 100%. But by the end of Tuesday, we'll be somewhere closer.
Do you have any idea of the numbers that you may be able to field?
I'm not quite sure. I don't want to lie on that one. But as I'm talking to you right now, we have got the organizing secretary and the OS, the director of elections. They are busy right now because it's like we are not just taking people because we need number. We need people with heart, people who wants to build. You cannot just stay in the house before you build it. You have to build the house. You have to dig the foundation and then you build. When you are done with the house, that's when you can bring in your furniture and enjoy. So to UPN, we need people with the heart to build their nation, and we need to build this nation. Thank you so much.
Morgan, the so-called destruction of an effective opposition in Zimbabwe, this is according to analysts, they attribute to internal party friction mainly caused by greed and power grabs. I mean, for example, as I said earlier, Lloyd Dumba was supposed to be here from MDCT, or Douglas Monzora, and of course your own Unity MDCT, if I can call it that for the moment. As a good example, they argue that this has created a political circus, which actually to the electorate means that they really can't take opposition seriously. What would you say to that?
Usually the problem that you see in political parties are a result of a failed leadership. Failed leadership. When you take the leadership of the party, you are then tested. And if you fail to unite people, if you are not a unifier, you are bound to have a split, this kind of splits. So that's only a test for leadership. So we need to have leaders that have got a unifying factor in their own hearts, the capacity and capabilities to make sure that they keep people together. I've already indicated, even with the name of the party that I'm going to be representing in the elections, it's called United Movement for Democratic Change, which means that is within me to unite people. If this is within me to be the leader of the people, I can embrace everybody. So definitely that is going not to happen.
Like follow-up. So you're anticipating that you will have United MDC and MDCT. Is that not also a sign of splitting of the opposition?
The fact that I've alluded, that I've called for united, I want people to unite. I want those small parties that are using the word MDC, the people, we want the people, not the name, the people to come under the umbrella of the United MDC. That's going to resolve some of the things. Right now, as I speak, I'm receiving calls from all over the country in which people are saying, we are now coming back home. This is our party that was left by President Morgan Tsvangirai.
All right. Okay, I'm going to talk about this issue of a national unity government. It's something I believe, Morgan, I'll ask you last on this one because, in fact, even on the program here on The Chase, you actually said that's something you may support. Okay, do you believe that it's possible that in the next election in August, 23rd of August, that you would support a national unity government or not?
It's a tricky one, but let me say this. As I said, we are like an independent party. I really support it.
You would support it?
I really, as long as we are doing the right thing. Because what we need in a leadership is inspiring. Leadership is responsibility. We need leaders that goes ahead of people and pave the way so that people, they can have freedom. We need the leadership who sees what other people sees, who hears what other people hears. So for this one, it's up to God to choose. As we are standing here, God is the one who chose his president. God doesn't see how the way how men sees, but God, he doesn't see the outer appearance of many. He sees the heart. So as I'm talking to you right now, God is dealing with the heart of the leadership, who is going to be a leader in this. It doesn't matter there's Goliath, it doesn't matter there's a Sodom and Gomorrah where you think things are okay that side. But where you think there's a drought there, it's not drought.
Unfortunately, you come up to the end of your minute. Henry, you heard the call, I think Morgan Komichi called for a unity government, national unity government. Do you think that it's something, if the August 2023 election, imagine that if you did win the presidential vote, would you like to see a unity government or not?
Apana, and the GNU, Government of National Unity. Chikonzero chiri kuti kana ina wina naita president wa Zimbabwe and then notanga kuwashotesa wanu wa Zimbabwe wanaenda kupi kana hapana bato rimwe. So kana niri president wa campaign party tato wina kana tanga kuwashotesa wanu wanaenda pabato komichi anaita noise pa microphone hawa president Kambisi Buda pa 2028 elections Buda anopinda komichi.
Morgan, you're the one who said it to me directly. What is your comment now?
My number one item on my manifesto, I will be campaigning for the government of national unity. I'm putting forward my name as the president of Zimbabwe because I'm going to unite people, the leadership of the opposition political parties, to form one government. I got evidence. After the Liberation War in 1980, we formed the GNU and our economy grew. In 1987, we formed the GNU, ZAP and ZANU, and our economy grew. In 2008, after a very serious economic crisis, we had the GNU and our economy grew. So that's the only solution we can proffer to the Zimbabwean economy if we are to stabilize the rate, to stabilize the exchange rate, to drop the inflation, to strengthen the dollar. It's the only way we unite the leaders of Zimbabwe. Because the unity on itself, peace on itself, shared vision creates confidence in the economy. The investors will have the confidence to come and pour their money in a united nation, peaceful nation, share a common vision. So definitely I'm going to be campaigning for the GNU.
Okay, now then, this next question, I will give you each 2 minutes again to answer it because I believe it is critical. But before I do, you will notice, as I said, the empty podium here that belonged to Lloyd Damba. He's a spokesperson for MDCT President Douglas Mwanzora. He was invited. He did say he was coming, as you can see. He did not. He did not come.
They should have come to explain
Let me,
why they disrupted my
Let me. Well, unfortunately, they're not here to answer those questions. So let me continue. As I said, 2 minutes each, and I will start with you, Henry. If you are elected into the office of the president, you are now president of Zimbabwe. What would be your plan? What would you do in your first 100 days in power? 2 minutes.
Chino chakutanga kana ita mtungamiri wa nyika ya Zimbabwe pa August. Natanga kugadzirisa masalary ya wanu wabadilisha kanaka. Chipiri notarisa budget ya nyika. Zvinu mari inaenda kupi kana inaenda kusiri uko kana kutenga mota zakawanda novisa mari yacho tinozosera kuma salaries tinozosera kuma machine parts kuma industry wanu waone mabasa. Chinu chimwe kana ita president nowezera mabasa ku private sector na ku hurumende, especially private sector. Nogara nawo pasi nawo batsira. Nobatsira warimi watengese zvirimo zvavo wanafana kubhadharwa ma-US dollars na GMB. Wanafana kubhadharwa ipapo pawanaisa zvinhu zvavo. And then maclinic, mabuku 3 kumusha yanafana kuwa na clinic 1. Buku 3 chikoro 1. Buku 1 nafana kuwa na deep tank raki. Hurumende yangu inaisa mvura deep tank. Nawapa ma deep tank chemicals. Wasina chikafu wanopiwa. Wanu wakuru wana makore 65 na kuenda mbele wanapewa $400 mwezi wega. Zvikoro zinafana kuzokera pakari. Ma laptop kukuvira ECD kushika university wanapewa mahara na hurumende ya Kambisi Party. Ma clinic yanafana kuwa na mishonga yesi, ma doctor wanafana kuzara na ma nurse wakuzara, ma teacher wanafana kuzara kuchikoro. And migwaga yanafana kugazirizwa especially kumusha kugradwa. And kumusha wasina chikafu wanafana kuziswa. Kana wapuwa chikafu unakichengeta shakanaka. Notu kujika chete chipera afsatu wapuwa chimwe. And then panyaya mutaunium migwago inafana kugazirizwa mapoto letu nyanya. Housing schemes za wana wadiki wanafana kupuwa imba za kugara 27 years and above.
Thank you, Henry. Gary Kai, first 100 days in power as president of Zimbabwe. What would you do?
Okay, chekutanga tinofa kuimprove agriculture yedu tichisupply ne ma inputs, right? Tichigadzira ma roads edu, right? Tichidaidza ma investors kuti ti-create ma jobs, so that tikadaidza ma investors tichi-create ma jobs tinowana power and tinowana direction. So ku agriculture kwedu tinofa kuimprove, ku mining tinofa kuimprove. And chimwe chinhu chatinozoita ku mining ndechekuti mining inofanirwa kutove a subject kubva kuvana vedu vatange kudzidza mining vari from primary school or from secondary school, so that they will know kuti kana takuita mining yedu tiri kumanufacture zvinhu zvedu mukati munomu. Saka ndo zvinhu zvatinofanira kutarisa kuti vana paminerals edu tiri kugadzira here, vana votanga kudzidza those subjects ye-mining, kuti tinodila sei, what are we going to manufacture from this, what is coming up from there, and agriculture yedu yoenda better than before, even before independence or after independence, because inoda kusupportwa ma farmers, they need support from the government, they need to be educated, you see. That's what we do.
Thank you, Gary Kai. Morgan, first 100 days in power. 2 minutes.
All social issues that are affecting the people of Zimbabwe today, I can repeat them, but that's not the solution. Zimbabwe is a rich country with mineral resources, but we are failing to cultivate for the benefit of the people, simply because I've said it before. My first 100 days, I ensure that I've introduced an inclusive government that takes care, that's going to be run by not only opposition political parties or political parties, that is be inclusive of stakeholders, such as churches, such as trade unions, so that we bring the people of Zimbabwe together for purpose of unity, peace, and shared vision. The moment we share the same vision, we bring confidence to our economy, we stabilize our dollar, we stabilize our inflation, we stabilize our exchange rate. So everyone will then feel the economy in their pockets, will be able to raise money, to then start trading, linking Zimbabwe with other international world, dealing with issues of sanctions. We're going to deal with issues of sanctions. I do believe strongly that if I, as the president of Zimbabwe, unite Zimbabweans, there will be no need for sanctions. The sanctions will be suspended. And that would open up the economy of Zimbabwe to external partners. So we need to make sure that the inclusive government, which is beyond political parties, is established within 100 days. So in my 100 days, I'll be leading on a governance system. Because I believe the weak governance system, the winner-take-all governance system, is an evil system that has impoverished Africa. Where they've introduced the inclusive government in Rwanda, look at how Rwanda is performing. Because President Kagame, he has introduced 11 political parties in his government. So that is the way to go. That's an Afrocentric governance system. Look at China. They have got a system which is Chinese-centric, and it is able to produce their own economy. So we're going to be doing that.
I know there's a lot to answer there, but 2 minutes is all I could give you. Now then, I will give you each literally 30 seconds, 20 seconds each, unfortunately, because we're running out of time. I'd like you each to give your final words, speaking directly to Zimbabwe's electorate, Zimbabwe's citizens, Zimbabwe's voters. Henry, I'll start with you. You have 20 seconds.
Enda pa 0776-641-610 tuma WhatsApp titaurirana nyaya yamari, tumire mari yekukampena handiti, and then kana kujoina tuma zita rako ndikupe chigaro.
Garakai, speaking directly to Zimbabwean citizens right here on ZTN Prime, the voters, your final thoughts.
UPN we launched on Tuesday, and we are inviting all Zimbabweans to come to United People's Nation Peace Runyararo Ukutula, so that we can move together, and no one is going to remain behind. Everyone is important in the eyes of God. So we are here for you Zimbabweans. Let's join together.
Morgan, 20 seconds.
Vote for President Morgan Komichi of United Movement for Democratic Change, for peace, unity, and shared vision, and inclusive government to stabilize our economy for better living.
Thank you. We've come to the end of The Chase this evening. Of course, this is Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. I'd like to thank my guests, Morgan Komichi, United MDC Interim President, Garikai Musa, United People's Nation President, and Lloyd Damba, of course, was here, so I can't thank him. He was supposed to come, but he didn't come, even though he promised that he would, and you can see it was a no-show. And finally, Henry Mutasa, that's Kambizi Party President. Gentlemen, thank you so much for appearing on The Chase. Now make sure, please, that you tune in every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Central African time for The Chase as we continue our election series all the way up to the August the 23rd. So do not miss The Chase every Thursday. I'm Andy Hodges. Goodbye, good night, and please, you all be safe.